Welcome to the Sharpe Show. So happy to have you with me this evening. A little past 7 p.m. on the East Coast. Yes, I was unsure what I wanted to talk about yesterday, but this I'm doing today. I was gonna do yesterday, but we had our minor Maha civil war yesterday, still kind of going on. But I said a couple things yesterday about it. But this actually is a review show. It is. I'm reviewing a video that someone sent to me. I don't usually say who sent it because I don't know if the person actually wants me to know if we're saying it, if I should be saying it or not. It's a reaction show, so it kind of is. But I'm not sure. But if you're a member, you can send me stuff, and if I can get a chance to view it, look at it, I'll try to pop on and do a reaction to it. This is one of them. The advantages of being a member. So yes, being a member allows you to do that. And some of you have already posted, so this must have hit a nerve in some way, shape, or form. And it's the idea, the concept of trigger warnings. But it's bigger than trigger warnings. Trigger warnings, is that a symptom? Is that an idea that goes even larger? Is it something silly we shouldn't care about? Or is it something we really should care about? And I think I'm glad I picked this one. This one is actually specifically a Dr. Phil video. Dr. Phil did a piece on this. And the reason why I've been more pro Dr. Phil recently is because he's been more pro RFK Jr. So I'm going to hook him up. He's hooking us up. I'm going to hook him up. So I'm going to add that piece if I can, because why not? So I'm going to do that piece also. And of course, we'll always take your comments and questions as we go through it. But the concept of trigger warnings, I want to be clear about this. For most people who began the trigger warning concept, and for those who know what trigger warning is before you hear something or before someone says something that could be seen as negative or bad or somehow making deal with your trauma or something like that, trigger PTSD, you give them a warning up front that the person may be triggered. That's the concept behind it. And I think the idea of it is a nice idea. I do think it's a nice idea. The question is it valuable? Is it harmful? Does it matter? All those things. And Dr. Phil is going to give us an answer. He is actually going to give us an answer. Let me find this here if I can. I will present the doctor himself, and he will give us some information. Alrighty, here we go. Think you can hear this?
Watch or click to consume. It is an ideology that seeks to undermine drive, ambition, self-worth, and pride.
He just said this is to undermine drive, ambition, self-worth, and pride. Some serious charges, my friend.
By replacing it with a commitment to a quality of outcome, regardless of quality of input.
Okay.
Now, tonight, I will unfold a glaring example of how fringe activists, through what I call the tyranny of the fringe.
This part is very valid, right? Regardless of what you think about this entire thing. Excuse me, this is very valid. We do have a situation where there is the tyranny of the fringe. The fringe being so loud, the fringe being so dedicated, the fringe being so active that it feels like it's everybody. And the fringe being so much worried about punishment and attacking and moving forward that others just think, I don't want to deal with it. Fine, you win. I'll do your thing. I'll act your way. I just don't want to be crushed. And I think there's some validity to that.
Have altered the very basis of preparing our younger generation for the next level of life.
That's the problem.
I believe the future of our country could very well hang in the balance, and every one of us are stakeholders. Tonight's example may seem small at first.
Well, he thinks it's small. Okay, but no,
but by the time we're done, I believe you will see how it is symptomatic of a systemic decay we must work together to overcome. What if I told you there was a theater that had a special room, a special space for audience members who felt triggered during a play? or that a classic novel warns students about their description of spiders and insects.
Wow.
Trigger warnings, which first appeared in the early 2000s and were designed to protect people at risk of experiencing PTSD, now seem to be requested seemingly everywhere and for almost everything.
And that's the part that is driving me crazy. That if everything is a trigger warning, then what is life? This goes on to the bigger point, which he's talking about, which is it goes on to a bigger point. And the bigger point is it makes people feel like, and this is an important distinction here, it makes people feel like that they have a right to not be offended. That's where this goes. He's right. That's not where it started. It started in the idea that, look, there are people who could be triggered by things, you know, bad things in their life, particularly veterans coming back from wars, things like that. Again, I think the concept initially wasn't a bad concept. It has morphed into something that's almost insanity. This idea that now I have to trigger warning for everything. Therefore, this is the next piece. Therefore, if I'm offended, I'm triggered. If I'm offended, it's my right to not be offended. And then what happens naturally next? Stopping your freedom of speech. That is a natural progression, and we're seeing it already. No, you can't have free speech anymore. Why? Because someone might be offended. Someone might be triggered. So you may not speak anymore. And even if it's not openly said, now we do the worst thing, which is we self-censor. On the embarrassingly bad platform, one of them that I'm on now, known as the Tube of You, they are exactly that. They destroy freedom of speech. So now I have to self-censor or I get removed. I have to self-censor or I'm removed. So they're winning. This is the tyranny of the fringe because I said a word that someone might be bothered by. And here's the worst part. I know people will say, but what about the children? Well, they're online, watching all types of things, hearing all types of things, far worse than anything I could ever say. I'm not even joking when I say that. I have 2 kids. If you have kids, you know that. That's true. It's all bullshit. That's the reality. It just is.
Tonight, we take a deep dive into the heated debate surrounding trigger warnings. Now, what does this signal? What could be the possible problem with alerting someone to some unpleasantness around the corner?
It seems, again, I want to be clear. I think when originally people came up with this concept, it wasn't a bad thing. They weren't trying to harm. I don't believe that. I don't think the intent was bad. The outcome has been bad.
Well, you're soon going to know the answer to that question. Senior news anchor for Merritt Street Media, Chris Gutierrez, investigated how these warnings were permeating our country. Take a look.
Everywhere.
Dr. Phil, while no one is trying to minimize the value,
I am.
Multiple studies do suggest that trigger warnings potentially do more harm than good.
It's not potential. They do. Literally, trigger warnings hurt. He goes into a bit of it. I'll explain it too, and I've talked about it before. Trigger warnings actually stop people, right? They stop people from experiencing things so they can never get better at their issue. So they do make things actually worse. Peace is teasing me. He says, the Sharpe Larry on the Tube of You. No, it's the way of Sharpe on the Tube of You. See? It's the way of Sharpe on the Tube of You. That's what it actually is. Yes.
And now critics argue that trigger warnings like this one right here have evolved into a catch-all phrase to protect companies grappling with heightened legal anxiety.
And there's the second piece here, which we as a society have wrecked. If people sue companies, places, whatever the case may be, they actually do. They win. So when they win, what does the company do? It has to trigger warn everything or lose money. Now, again, people say, well, Larry, no, see, you're wrong on that. If you want to have a good society, you have to have, a lot of protections for workers. Things like, you have to have a wonderful environment, blah, blah, blah. They have to be accommodating, all those things. And that sounds great until this happens. But Larry, how can we have the good stuff? The states with the most, and I say this all the time, with the most legal protections for workers, without question, every single time, have the absolute highest wealth inequality. Every time. Every time. Yes.
The question is, to what end?
I must issue you a trigger warning.
You can't escape them.
If you're in doubt of whether you should give a trigger warning or not, always do.
Anyone who speaks like her, do not listen to. Never listen. They're always wrong. If they tell you, if she goes, if there's a fire, you should run. Don't run. Like, don't, whatever they say, do not do, because they're always wrong.
Trigger warnings are everywhere.
Trigger warnings.
Trigger warnings.
It's even a hot topic on YouTube.
Everything about trigger warnings is really meant with the best of intentions.
A study performed by a clinical psychologist at Harvard suggests trigger warnings did not help trauma survivors brace themselves to face potentially upsetting content. In some cases, they made things worse.
Yes.
Another researcher added the reason people don't get over their phobias and traumas and fears is because they don't allow themselves to be exposed to reminders.
Exactly correct. And I've talked to you guys about this before. I've done some work with veterans. I can't say therapy because in New York State, you have to be licensed to be a therapist. So I don't do therapy. I do some work with veterans. And when veterans have PTSD, one of the best things you can do is literally walk through some of their terrible experiences. And as they stop, as they walk away from these terrible experiences, you walk down the road with them. You start walking down the road with them without emotion. What happened next? Okay. And they start getting stressed. You calm down. Okay, I get it. No, stay with me. You literally, when they get emotional, no, stay with me. I'm asking you something. I'm asking you a question. Answer my question, man. Come on, answer my question. But I know I'm asking you to answer my question. And you begin to get them to desensitize themselves over the issue over time. It's not 5 minutes at all. I don't want to act. It sounds simple when I say it. And I guess in a way, the concept, that's what I'll say. The concept is simple. The actual practice is very tough and very hard to do. So Morgan says, exposure therapy is a model that's been used. Correct. Yes, absolutely. Yes, 100%. Matt says, spoiler alert, it's my video. True. Matt said this to me. It's true. I don't know if you want to say anything, but yeah, it's true. Let me grab a couple of these specials if I could. All righty here. Let me grab, Lunatic jumped on board very early. He says, thank you for the $9.99. He says, trauma is training. Okay. Yes and no. In other words, yes, it is, but doesn't have to be the best way of training, brother. But yes, you're right. It is. But I don't think I want to make trauma my preferred method of training. But yes, it's true. That is what I've come to discover, he says. Traumas early with little guidance leaves open wounds, not scars, that leave the imprint of trauma healed. Battle scars are terms of endurement. Ooh, I like that. Terms of endurement. Nicely done. This is true. Like, I look at my scars, and my daughter and I were talking about this maybe last week, maybe. The idea of when do you see death? My daughter is studying now to be an EMT, and she's actually doing ambulance work right now. She's like off in ambulances. Yes, in New York City, my daughter is in ambulances. Yes. And we talk about her seeing death and seeing people in trouble and seeing people who've, cut open this and broken that and things like that. And what happens? How do you feel about it? And I remember one of her people in her school was saying things like, she told me, right? Oh, I didn't see a dead body until I was 21 years old. And some people might go, oh, that's a great thing. Some people might go, that's not a great thing. Now, to your point, Lunatic, do I want someone to see a dead body before they're 21? No, I don't want that to be the preferred method of training. But if someone does see a dead body early, it does do things. Right? My father died when I was 11, right? So I saw him dead. I saw a dead body close up as a youngster. Now, again, I don't think that's the best way, but did it train me? You're not wrong. It did. Going through trauma, if you can get guidance and go through it, there is the piece. It can be a very strong and very good learning tool. Agreed. Not my preferred issue. And you also want to be able to go through it. If you have trauma and you never go through it and work through it, then it just holds you back. That's why I'm saying it's not the preferred method. If you don't get people to walk through it with you, if you don't get that, and it can be a therapist, of course, but it doesn't have to be. You can walk yourself through it. Some people use the shrooms of mush. Some of them use that to walk themselves through it. Whatever's your thing. No judgment for me. You do what's going to work for you. Then it can be, because you're right. Healed trauma can make you stronger. Unhealed trauma can really hold you back. And I think many people, either it's been you or you've seen somebody who's been in that world. So Lunatic goes on to say, improperly trained humans to participate in society is what we have. Society, not built on Jung, built on Freud, we are doomed to powderhead. My concern here is, you're right. And I think this actually validates what you're saying. I think what I'm talking about now is going to validate exactly what you're saying. If you don't spend the time dealing with those issues and such, and being prepared for life, you're going to struggle in life. I agree completely. And it does hurt the society. So Sheridan over on Rumble, actually, you said, he says, terms of endurement, and he gives you the heart symbol. So he goes, I'm using that line. So Lunatic, you got some fans. You got some fans, brother. People are liking what you're saying. So you got a couple fans. He then says, Jordan Peterson exposed this. They can become a member for 4 months. I appreciate it, guys. Look, membership matters. Lunatic is a member. I appreciate that. Lunatic's been on the show. Also, you other guys have been on the show. And also, you can send in this. This is Matt. Matt is a member. He sent this in. So yes, there is value to membership. If you guys can become members, that's awesome. Remember, if you can become a member, you can do it on YouTube if you like. $49 per month. Click the join button on Larry Sharpe YouTube. Become a member if you can. If you can't, no worries. If you can super chat me, that's also good. Love that. Put some cash over here. I'd love to do more of that so I can spend more time doing this and less time working. That would be nice. But no matter what, even if you can't swing either of them, or you're already a member and you're already super chatting, no worries. Click the button known as Lima, India, Kilo, Echo. That's free. Just do that. Helps out tremendously. It's you might not think it's valuable. It really is. Because Mr. Rhythm, Algo, that guy, he loves when you do that, but he also loves when you share this into something else, when you put it into like a Facebook post, or you share it on X, or you share it on Facebook, or you share it on YouTube. They like it. Share it on Rumble. They love that stuff. So you could do that, and it would help tremendously. You don't have to remember if you don't want to, but all good. So thank you for that, Lunatic. I appreciate it. And Ryan, thank you for the $5. The only trigger warning that I have is the federal government. Everything they do angers me. Yes, I'm triggered. When you say, I'm from the government, triggered, done. So triggered. I completely agree. Utterly triggered. All right, let me grab a bit more of this if I could.
A man in Kentucky sued his employer and won $450,000.
3 problems. 1, the terrible judges, as you hear me attack judges every month on the show, who accepted that. Why? Why? Why would you accept that case? Why don't you throw that shit out immediately? And every one of you damn people who go on jury duty and go, company bad, give them money. You're making things worse. You're not supporting that person. That person is a knucklehead loser who you just gave $500,000 to. I don't even know who he is. He's a loser. I don't care. That's who he is. If you're so triggered, you had to sue people to get $500,000 and wreck it for everybody else. You know how many companies saw that and went, I'm not losing that kind of money. I'm now going to make my work environment worse for everyone because of this one loser. Everyone's going to pay now because there's one loser, because of one stupid judge who took this case. She said, this is garbage. It's out. It's frivolous. Stop. Be an adult. You survive in America. You're a human being. No, you don't get to not be offended. Bye. Didn't do it. Took it. And then the jurors went, yeah, give him money. Yes. Thank you. You made everything worse. And you thought you were helping. You were not helping. You were making everything worse.
After his colleagues threw him a birthday party.
Yes.
He warned them that a party would cause him stress and anxiety.
Yes.
They mocked him, but no one's laughing now.
He got $500,000 because they threw him a birthday party. Because he had stress from a birthday party. Yes.
And if you thought it was okay for companies to promote Mother's Day.
Oh, hold on. Cheyenne comes. That guy who sued Subway for the footlongs being short. Big time loser. No, that's false advertising. I don't have a problem with you suing them for not. You say you're giving me, whatever, and you don't give me whatever. Fine. They gave him a birthday party, Cheyenne. A birthday party. You could have just walked away. You didn't have to stay for it, did you? You could have just left. Yeah. A birthday party. Yeah. 100%. But
or Father's Day online? Well,
oh, yeah.
Guess again. Chris discovered that could be triggering.
Yes.
Look what Levi sent customers ahead of Mother's Day.
How broken are we as a society that this is happening? So maybe you've lost your mother. I lost mine. I lost my father when I was a kid. Does that mean all of a sudden that now nobody else gets to enjoy Mother's Day because I might be triggered because my mother died? No one else can enjoy Father's Day because I might be triggered because my father died? Is that how that works? Clearly, yes. That's how that works. So because I'm the last person who is going to sit here and say, you can't feel bad for the loss of a family member. As again, I lost my father when I was very young, and it was devastating for me. As if any of you've lost parents when you're young, it's never good to lose a parent. It sucked when I lost my mom and I was an adult, and that still sucked. Nowhere near as bad as when I was a kid losing my father, but still, it's bad no matter what, losing a parent. No one likes losing a parent, right? So I should punish everybody else? All of you have to be punished because I had a problem. Yes, that's what they're saying. Yes. I'm looking over. Straight Ann over on Rumble says, 450K, my business will have robots only. Correct, Straight Ann. Correct. They can't wait. And by the way, thank you for the $5 over there at the Rumble rant. They can't wait for that. Can't wait for that. That's why they're rushing as fast as they can. By the way, if you guys don't know, there are already robots in factories now. Already now. And there are some factories called dark factories that have no humans in them already. So yeah, that's already there. And idiots like this judge who took this case and everything else, and Levi's who does this. Why does Levi's do this? Because they're scared. So they do it. Why do they do it? Because some idiot judge said $400,000 for one guy. What if Levi's gets 1,000 people who all say, I'm triggered because Mother's Day? They all get $500,000? It's a $50 million lawsuit because they said Mother's Day? That's our society now. This is way bigger. Mr. Taz does not like Dr. Phil. Isn't Dr. Phil just a grifter who airs other people's dirty laundry for ratings? Doesn't make him wrong in this case, Mr. Taz. That's all I'm saying. Doesn't make him wrong in this case. That's what I would say. There we go. There we go. Cheyenne says, what about the business owner having anxiety from being sued? True. They should sue the court system because the court system is triggering them because they might have to use it when they get sued. See that? I love that. Now you're thinking. Cheyenne's thinking.
They acknowledged that Mother's Day could be triggering and gave customers the option to opt out of their promotions. Kay Jewelers did the same, adding Mother's Day.
Jewelers said Mother's Day can be a challenging time. What?
Day can be a challenging time. Even DoorDash recognized the trigger and posted Mother's Day may be a difficult time for some.
That was a trigger warning.
Intense backlash surrounding.
What is trigger warning actually? It's the thing that I cannot stand. It's the thing that I speak about all the time. Yes, it is the dreaded virtual signaling. I say all the time, virtual signaling hurts. Virtual signaling kills. Virtual signaling gets rid of jobs. Straight Ann said it. You think Straight Ann's the only person who's thinking, I don't want any employees so I can get sued? Yes. And if you're a large company like a Netflix or Levi's and you get sued and you lose $500,000 or even $1 million, you'll get over it. What if you own one Subway? One. Your total income from one Subway is maybe $250,000 a year. That's still a lot, but that's your total income. You get sued $500,000. You're finished. You have no income for 2 years, or you're in debt for the next 10 because of one guy, one gal, who said, don't give me a birthday party because I'm broken as a human being and I want the world to give me money because I'm a broken human being. And the world said, here's money. Sure. We now reward victimhood and wonder why everybody wants to be a victim. Well, because you reward victimhood.
The popular Netflix show 13 Reasons Why. The controversial series depicts teen suicide.
I remember this show. My kids actually wanted me to watch it. And there was actually, here's the funny part. All of us decided as adults, this is sad. Oh my God, this is sad. Oh my God, we can't do this. What were the kids actually doing? They were doing jokes about it. Yes. The kids were actually saying, that's it. That's my 13th reason. They were saying that to each other. Right? And when they'd be mad at each other, you need a 13th reason? You need 13th reason? They were teasing each other back and forth about it. My kids were little when this came out. I remember specifically. The kids didn't care. It was the adults who thought, I got to protect my kids. Because parents have gone from helicopter parents to what's called bulldozer parents. What's a bulldozer parent? Helicopter, of course, you're always hovering over your kid. It can't do anything without you being there. It can't go anywhere without you being there. Gen Xers started that. I don't know why we did. Shame on us for starting the helicopter shit. That was a terrible start. That's kind of on us. Millennials said, hold my beer. And millennials went to bulldozer parents, which means I'm going to push everything out of the way so that my little girl has no problems at all. My little boy has no problems at all. Nothing. They're going to have the perfect life because I'm going to push everything out of the way. I'm a bulldozer parent. So millennials said, hold my beer. I got you. And they made it worse. So that's this whole thing about trigger warnings. I can't have anything get in my little magical person's way because they're awesome and glorious.
Well, please welcome Chris Gutierrez, senior news anchor for Merritt Street Media. Chris, thanks for being here.
Thank you.
So happy he's here. I'm happy.
It's a big problem because I think it's symptomatic of a mindset of coddling people and not preparing them for the next level of life.
Yes.
So what did you find out when you were digging into all this?
It's something
that is my biggest worry. What he just said. Of all the things I'm concerned about regarding this, the biggest one is is them never being prepared for anything, just not being ready for things. And now they get into the work world or the regular world and they're 20 something like, something bad happened. What do I do? Where's my mom? Where's my dad? Where are the people who are supposed to fix this for me? Isn't someone going to fix this for me? Yeah. Thank you for the $1.99. Trigger warning. Nobody cares. Not one. That's not true, brother. You are wrong on this. And Dr. Phil is going to show you some people who care a whole lot, like a lot. You are going to be triggered. I'm going to give you a trigger warning. Luna's just going to want to throw something out the window. Don't throw something out the window. So I'm trigger warning you. See? Don't throw something out the window. When you see there are some people, my friend, who care a lot about this. You are incorrect on this one. Just saying you are. Don't throw it out the window. And if Mike Voss is watching, I don't know if he's watching or not, get the bucket, Mike. You're going to throw up. So get the bucket so you're ready. I don't want you messing up your carpet and your floor. Go get the bucket because you're going to be throwing up. I don't know if you're watching, Mike, but if you are, yeah. Okay. Yes. Michael says, are you trying to kill me with cringe, Larry? This is not my fault. Blame Matt. It's Matt's fault. Matt sent this in. Look, I wasn't going to say he sent it in. Matt came clean. That's his fault. Blame Matt. He came clean. I didn't out him. He came.
You've pointed out clearly, part of getting through something is you don't tiptoe around an issue or a subject or a trauma, right?
Yep.
You get through that not by avoiding something. So when you avoid something, experts will tell you you're doing yourself a disservice because you never find yourself on the other side of that by.
There's literally several specialists who deal with phobias, right? People who are afraid of, say, snakes or afraid of spiders or afraid of heights or whatever the case may be. One of the tactics they use is very similar to the PTSD tactic. Not the same, obviously, because not exactly the same, but it's similar. In the case of PTSD, you often walk the person through the entire event multiple times. In fact, nowadays, they're actually using AI and 3D graphics to actually recreate the entire actual scene for some of our PTSD struck soldiers and sailors and Marines, and walking them through that with the goggles and the whole thing on. They're going to slowly walk them through it. You might go, Larry, that sounds horrible. It's helping them tremendously to process, to get to no longer fear. When it comes to phobia, say you're afraid of, say, like you're scared of snakes, whatever, and you go nuts. There are the guys will say, there's a snake in that, whatever, in that box, and maybe show them the snake. And the person would go, oh, and you start talking to the person while they stand still. They want to run. You physically stop them. No, stay here. I'm going to ask some questions. Stay here. And you ask them questions, talk them through it, ask how they feel, and you get them just communicating with you while the snake is still there. Eventually, over time, again, this is in 5 minutes, over time, you get the person closer and you keep talking. And, for some people with a very minor phobia, it could be one session in theory. For some, it's multiple sessions, could be multiple months or weeks, depends upon how bad your phobia is, or the case may be, how good your therapist is. I'm sorry, your worker. You can't be a therapist in New York unless you're licensed. So the person you're working with, your emotional coach, there we go. Emotional coach, not therapist. Got to be licensed in New York. Yeah, your emotional coach is what you are. There we go. That one, then you'll be fine. Any case, but yes, this guy's completely correct.
Ignoring what happened. Instead, you get that help through therapy and through counseling. It's like you go to the gym and you work out your body, right, Dr. Phil? At the same time, you want to work out your mind. You got to get things off of your mind so you can see the other side. You can get through it. You do that through counseling and through therapy, not by avoiding it or tiptoeing around it.
Well, of course. What stood out to you most during your investigation?
One thing I should point out is that when it comes to these trigger warnings, the experts will say that they're not specific enough in a general setting. The one that really stuck out to me is in London, Romeo and Juliet. Did you know at the Globe Theater, it comes with a trigger warning?
Yeah, and it's interesting what it says. I mean, let's take a look at this. Globe Theater, London. Upsetting Romeo and Juliet. Production contains suicide, violence, reference to drug use, gunshot sound effects, and stage blood. Provides helpline after show.
If you need a helpline after watching Romeo and Juliet, you need a whole lot more help than that helpline can give you. Now, you might think I'm being mean. I'm not. If you actually require a helpline after watching Romeo and Juliet, which is stage blood and gunshot sound effects, right? References to drug use, if you have a serious mental problem, like you're in trouble, you cannot function in society. You cannot function in society. You're in trouble. So if any of you go to Romeo and Juliet and go, I need the helpline, 1-800 what? If that's you, don't go to the helpline. Go get some serious mental health. You're in trouble. Humans should not be worried. Why do they do this? Why? Because that idiot got $500,000 for the happy birthday lawsuit. That's why they do it. That's the reason. So now you have to spend more time, money, and energy, feel like an idiot, be treated like a child. So now you have to make every person a child. Everyone has to be a child because loser judges take these cases and they should throw them out immediately. Governors and presidents and mayors, whoever that has the power to party, be partners of immediately say, stop, this is stupid. No one is standing up and saying no. But here's the problem. There's a problem. And the problem is the backlash may be even harsher. And I don't want the harsh backlash. We see it all the time. The pendulum swing, and it's going to be bad. That's the worst part because this is insanely stupid. And the problem is no one wants to say this is stupid. Why? Because Dr. Phil was right. He was right. He said the tyranny of the fringe. Because once you say it, here comes the cancel club. Here comes the cancel club. Larry said that this doesn't deserve a trigger warning. It doesn't. And if this triggers you, you are in serious trouble. You should be. Yes. Lunatic, thank you for the $1.99. That's why I box. Volunteers get KO'd. Ooh. No government. You could get KO'd. That's true. That's true. Maybe they should fight instead. There we go. I like that. So I do have one thing that should trigger all of us. Pete came in with the whole thing. Pete, you didn't put a trigger warning in front of this. Why didn't you put trigger warning in front of this, Pete? Now we all got PTSD. That's your fault. That's your fault, Pete. 36 trillion. 214 billion, 896 million, 100,000, $379.00 national debt. And it's gone up since he put this here with no trigger warning. Have you learned nothing, Pete? Have you learned nothing? Learned nothing.
Romeo and Juliet.
Okay, so what it says here is production contains suicide and violence. Well, spoiler alert.
Yep, it's kind of the show.
In case you didn't know, somebody commits suicide in here, and this is about two people.
Yep.
Right.
One of them's going to kill themselves.
You know, the more I think about it, as a dad, you talk about coddling, right?
True.
I let my kids fail, and it's hard, right? But what I'm doing, I hope, is I'm building resiliency within them, that they.
And that's the key, right? We've made a terrible mistake in America, and it started probably around the 90s, give or take, in that area, maybe 80s, I'm not sure, but somewhere in the area is where it began. And this is the self-esteem movement. And again, to be clear, the self-esteem movement was absolutely done with the best intentions. There's no doubt it was. The idea was if people have more self-esteem, they will believe in themselves more, they'll achieve more, all of those things. It's a wonderful concept. It really is. And it's actually true. Here's the problem. They thought, well, how do we do that? We don't want to tear people down. We want to build them up, right? So let's not tear them down. Let's give them words of affirmation. Let's show them that they're awesome. And what came from that? Participation trophies. Yes, that came from that. And then we keep doing it. Don't let them fail. Don't say bad words. Don't say they've collapsed. Everybody's a winner. Everybody's special. Everybody's awesome. Now that was all done, to be forward, with a positive intent and a terrible outcome. And the worst part is people who are savvy, people who are actually done the work on this, know the exact opposite happens. People don't gain self-respect. People don't gain self-confidence because of affirmations. That's just shit people say. That's not true. It's not a thing. It's not a thing. And people say, well, no, you've got to put it into the, no, none of that's true. That creates false stuff where you wind up being a blowhard and collapsing. None of that works. This is going to validate what Lunatic said. You actually become stronger by doing things that are tough. He says, this guy says, I'm a father. I let my kids fail. I do too. I'm a father too. But I don't just let my kids fail. I literally tell my kids, do the hard stuff. They go, why, Dad? It's hard. Yes, do the hard stuff. Why? Because nobody else will. People don't want to do hard stuff, particularly their generation. They don't want to do hard stuff. Larry is old man going, the youngsters are weak. Okay, I am an old man, and the youngsters are weak. Both of those things are true. Sorry, they are true. Well, everyone said that. My generation wasn't weak. Gen X is not weak. Sorry, not a thing. We're not. Not a thing. Just saying, they're weak. They are. It's true. So I told my daughters, do the hard things. Here's the best part. If you do the hard thing and you fail, well, it was hard. Of course, it was hard. Do the hard thing, you win, you're awesome. I'll do the easy thing. Great. Do the easy thing and you fail. What a loser. Do the easy thing and you do it. So what? It was easy. There's no value in doing the easy thing. Do the hard thing. If you lose, it was hard. Of course. If you win, look how awesome you are. So to Lunatic's point, if you do the hard thing and you then make it, or if you lose and then get better or learn, that is how you gain self-esteem. That is how you gain self-confidence. And then you will be better. So the overall idea they came up with is a true, and it's right. The way they got there was terrible and hasn't stopped. And from the 80s and 90s, this whole concept of this keeps going. And it permeates everything. I brought this up in one of my shows before. When I was a kid, and if any of you are in my age range or older, you remember this, you'd go to someone's birthday party, right? If I went to Mike's birthday party when we were kids, it was his birthday, I brought him a gift. That's how it worked. That was his birthday party. His birthday, I buy him a gift. I'll bring him one if I'm poor. I make something, right, with kids. Maybe I can't afford it. Me and my group in the Bronx wasn't like we grew up rich. So maybe I'd make something for him or whatever, but I bring something for him. I mean, I bring some food my mom would make. I bring something for him as his birthday. And when my birthday came, he would come and he'd bring me something, right? Or buy something, or his mom would make something, whatever, right? That's how it worked. Oh, when my kids grew up? No. When my kids grew up, all the kids got presents. Yeah. So we go to my daughter's friend's house, give them the present, and then all the kids got presents from the kid's mom. I was like, well, why are we getting presents? And then I found out how it works. Well, we don't want the kids to feel bad they don't get a present. It's not their birthday. Why are they getting a present? Because we don't feel bad and self-esteem. And I remember one of my most proudest times of my daughter. I was her softball coach, and I was her basketball coach when she played both of those. And we went to a basketball ceremony when the kids got their trophies. And to be very forward, that's what we mean, our team wasn't great. We didn't win a championship, nothing. We weren't great. But we all got trophies because it's participation day. We got trophies. She grabs her trophy, they had a little ceremony to get, and she comes back downstairs, down the stairs, and comes to the table. There's a bunch of tables where everyone's sitting. She puts the thing on the table and says, "Here's a trophy I got for nothing." And I went, "That's my girl." She was like 12. I forgot how old. She was young, 12, 13, whatever. And she was like, "Here's a trophy I got for nothing." I'm like, "That's my girl." She gets it. So yes, she knows that when she does something well, it matters. But anything without it has no power. I went way longer than I apologize, but this triggered me. So there we go. And Pete, you and your triggering.
No, they can pick themselves back up, and whatever that issues that they're dealing with doesn't define them. That's
Correct.
not who they are.
If you hover over your children, if you keep people from experiencing stress, strain, a degree of anxiety, they're never going to learn. And it's not.
This is one of the reasons. And people, I remember, I used to be an English teacher. In fact, I ran a small school. And I remember one of the instructors, he said, "You know, I don't understand why you guys in the Marine Corps," because I was a Marine. All this hard stuff you guys do, yelling and screaming and all this stuff and blah blah blah. You just train a guy how to shoot, he'll be fine. I said, "That's what you think?" He said, "Yeah. If I was training how to shoot, whatever, blah." I said, "Oh, so you're prepared to be violent?" "Well, I mean, I guess if I had to." No, you have to initiate violence. What do you mean? If you're going to be a Marine, you have to be able to initiate violence. Not just that, you have to be able to act in a violent environment when bad things are happening, when everything is confusing, and stay focused on a mission. Well, yeah, that's why, dude. That's why. It's called scenario training. They put you in the most harshest environments as hard as you can to experience harshness. And for those of you who've been in the military, for those of you who've been through boot camp, those who've been through training or through tough stuff in your life, now when you get out, that's cake. Whatever, right? I've slept in the back of a moving truck that's not on a road. I can sleep anywhere. So the truck is moving. I'm out cold. I can sleep anywhere. And again, if you're a Marine, I know this, or if you're airborne, one of the two. If you can sleep in a helicopter, that's one of the loudest things in the world. You sleep in that, you good. I slept in a helicopter. Doesn't matter. You get past it all. So yes. Anyway, I'm just ready. Renegade Apples has become a member. Thank you, Renegade. I appreciate it. Yes, it's Renegade and Apples combined. That's actually pretty good. I do enjoy that. Yes, I enjoy that. Lunatic Back in Action 49 says, "Trained in things that are hard until they're easy." Correct. Then accelerate into stuff that you can never imagine. That's what makes us stronger, brother. You know this. I'm with you. So that's why I said when I show you the people who disagree, don't throw anything out the window. Don't break your window. Or keep your window open. So if you throw something out, you don't break your window. Because there are going to be people here who completely disagree with you. I'm almost there. Stay with me. I'm almost there.
Just that trigger warnings don't work, which they don't. It's that trigger warnings have been shown to create the very anxiety, the very panic, the very things that they're trying to protect the person from.
Right.
Yep. And depending on what resources you look at, 50 to 75% of universities use these, and they have access to the same research that I have access to, which means they know they don't work.
That is my problem. They know they don't work, and they still do it. What does it go back to? Well, let me speed this up a little bit. You guys want me to go faster. I can go faster. I'll go a little bit faster. They know it doesn't work and they still do it. Why? Lawsuits. Because stupid judges.
So why are they using them anyway? Because they're virtue signaling.
Yes, they
and
are.
To me, that seems incredibly hypocritical to do something they know does not work, knows does not teach coping skills, knows
Correct.
does not prepare and toughen up the person for the next level of life.
And they're scared of the woke mob.
Resiliency is what I'm trying to build in my kids.
Yeah, well, you don't do that by not letting them ever scrape a knee, not ever letting them experience something that gives them some degree of upset. Thanks for doing that, Pete. We needed that. Coming up, an Ivy League student who says it's negligent for a professor to not warn students about
There, it's coming, lunatic. It's coming.
traumatic material in class. We'll talk to her next. Have you checked your home?
Hold on, I'm gonna get past this real fast. We don't need to go through that stuff. Here we go.
Bill.
Trigger warning. This episode contains information on how trigger warnings can be triggering.
Content warning, I have a bloody nose.
I have trichotillomania. With this condition, my hair pains me to grow back in.
Okay, now I'm gonna floss. Trigger warning.
So think twice before you say
Trigger warning because she's gonna floss. Oh, she's gonna floss. I'm dying. I got PTSD from flossing.
Trigger warning.
Well, tonight we're discussing trigger warnings, which I talk about in my new book, We've Got Issues, how you can stand strong for America's soul and sanity. I use an example from Cornell University about a resolution the Student Assembly tried to pass to mandate trigger warnings.
The Student Assembly tried to pass a mandate on trigger warnings. This is where we are now. Mandate on trigger warnings. Yes, the students all want it.
It got rejected. But the co-author, Claire, gave us an inside look at why some Ivy Leaguers are so passionate.
And they're all Ivy Leaguers. And we wonder why we're laughing at these people.
About being prepared for difficult content.
Stop going to college. Just stop.
Hi, Dr. Phil. This is Claire Ting, and today we're on the campus of Cornell University. It's clear that the debate about trigger warnings is far from over, so today we're going to get some thoughts from the students on campus.
The trigger warnings that people really care about: racial violence, slavery, pedophilia,
mobbings and lynchings, domestic violence, sexual assault, relationship abuse. Yeah.
All young women. Isn't it always? Isn't it always?
Yelling, if someone's experienced that as a child, words of warning are helpful.
Teachers are able to.
Okay, they're not helpful. That's not true. And this woman is a teacher, I think. Embarrassing.
To still teach what they want to teach, just with a caveat of saying that this could be sensitive to others.
If you've gone through sexual assault, obviously you should get a heads up, because those mental emotions and feelings can absolutely manifest into.
She has no idea what she's talking about at all. And the best part is, she honestly thinks she knows better. She thinks she's helping. That's the weird part. She's like, I'm so right. I am so correct. I'm so right on everything I'm saying. She has no idea. She's utterly wrong. She's hurting people. But is she trying to hurt people? I don't think so. And that's the other hard part. I don't think this woman is trying to hurt anybody. I think she's like, she thinks she's saving people. She's like, I'm saving the world because you crazy people don't. And by the way, this is Cornell. Yes, in my state. What did you expect? This is in New York State. Of course it is. This is Cornell.
Physical symptoms and even hospitalization, which is.
They can get hospitalized from that. See that, you people? She's trying to save these people. Mike, why are you so mean? Lunatic, why are you so mean? She's trying to save you. Selfish guys.
Something I don't think the older generation understands.
You old people don't know. Mike, you old. You don't know because you're too old. He was young. You figure it out. Old people.
We as Gen Z, we've prioritized mental health so much more.
See? Gen Z has prioritized mental health so much more. All you other gens, dummies, get it straight.
Subject to trauma, the trigger warnings, this is more an act of love. A small thing we can do that eases pain for people in a very, very hurtful world. Thank you so much.
She actually believes it. Like, she believes it. She's like, look how good I am. Look at that smile. I'm a good person. I'm such a good person. In fact, I'm probably better than you. That's true. There's a problem, lunatic. See, if I start doing this, I'll be better than you. She's better than you. See, the reason why Matt gave me this video is Matt feels bad. He feels bad. It's like, I'm not as good as her. She's a better person. I'm a bad person because I don't believe what she believes. There we go. Yes. Phil asks, is marine training exposure therapy before trauma? That's what it's trying to be. But it's exposure therapy is actually after you've had it, right? and you're re-exposed to it to calm you down. But this is like preemptive, maybe preemptive training exposure, right? One of the reasons why they're yelling and screaming and aggressive is because stressful situations are accustomed to that. Everything is happening at the same time. Can you stay focused on your mission when things are exploding, bad things are happening, things are collapsing, people are screaming, bombs are going off? Can you stay focused on your mission? That's what this is about. So yes, thank you for $2, my friend. So yeah.
Much.
Well, Claire, you think failure to give a content warning if there's something in a course that could be upsetting is actually negligent and unethical?
Well, I think it's a lot more complicated than that.
See, she's smarter than you, Dr. Phil. Okay, she's Gen Z. So don't, you boomer. Okay, boomer. Okay, boomer. She's Gen Z. All right. So she's gonna teach you some stuff here. All right, lunatic, listen up. Mike, listen up. Gen Z woman talking. Learn.
There is no one set definition of what a trigger warning is, right? The research that we have right now dates all the way back from 1985 to 2023.
Jesus Christ, all the way back to 1985. Was there even like TVs back then? You hear what she said? All the way back, because she wasn't born yet. I'm not joking. She wasn't born yet. She's like, all the way back to 1985. You know, back in the Stone Age. I think they had like flint and steel to make fire. I think we had fire by then.
There's no one standard definition of what a trigger warning is.
See?
But in order for one to work, whatever form it might take, it takes two things. That's mutual respect and
mutual respect, which you don't have, but great.
Radical self-responsibility.
And self-responsibility, something else you don't have. So both things you don't have. That's why they don't work. She has neither of those things.
It's your responsibility to cope with your own trauma.
But then why do you require a trigger warning then?
Might not have been your fault that it happened, but it is your responsibility to take care of it.
Look how smug she is. Look how, see? See? Thank you. You people. Getting tired of you, Gen Z people. You don't know anything. I'm sorry, you know everything, actually.
What does that have to do with someone giving or not giving a trigger warning, whatever you define trigger warning to be?
Yep.
Isn't the whole point of a trigger warning, right? That the content ahead might activate some trauma?
Well, I don't think there is a point to a trigger warning. That's my point.
There we go.
Because regardless of what you think, the research indicates that trigger warnings, however broadly you define them, are not effective. Look, I'm as sensitive and compassionate to people's reactions as I think you can be. It's what I do. And I don't want to create anyone unnecessary discomfort.
See,
what I want to do is prepare people to function better tomorrow than they did today.
Which you can't get with trigger warnings, can you? Ryan says, bad people proposing bad laws. Triggered. Yes. Yes. Well, I wouldn't say bad people. Here's what I will say. Self-righteous, smug people proposing bad rules. That's what I would say. Because look, do I really think this young woman is a bad person? She's smug and self-centered. Does that make her bad? Maybe. She might actually believe in her heart she's helping you out, Ryan. You just don't know any better, dude. Like, she's just smarter than you. She's going to Cornell, all right? So she's smarter than you. So it could be that. She's smarter than all of us. And so it could just be smug people. I mean, I don't know her. She could be a bad person. But she might just be smug and lost. It's possible. So I'm trying to give the benefit of the doubt here.
And if I create an environment where they can avoid learning to cope with what life is going to throw at them, then I am cheating them miserably.
Referencing back to some of the studies that you mentioned, many sources claim that trigger warnings don't work.
Right.
A more accurate interpretation of that study would more so be that trigger warnings don't hurt.
See, they don't hurt. See how smug? They don't hurt. So why not? Show people how virtuous you are and show them how much you're better than them by just doing this virtue signaling crap. It doesn't hurt, and it makes you feel like you're better than them. And that's all we really care about, right?
Well, actually, they do.
Right. And that's because the study that indicates that they do.
So she says, okay, right. That's because, so that's a savvy pivot. They don't. They do. Okay, they do because it's a savvy pivot. I caught it though.
Right? It says it's because of this anticipatory effect that a trigger warning causes. If you're a survivor of abuse and I tell you, Dr. Phil, this movie might have some abuse scenes, it would be perfectly reasonable for you to have a temporary anxious effect. And that's the harm and the research references.
No, that's a very simplistic view.
Yeah, she's absolutely not right. She's spinning it to make it right for her. Absolutely not
The
true.
point is that if you react to that and therefore avoid the content,
yes,
then you're not learning to cope with it. Whereas if you continue to interact with it, you learn to be desensitized to it. You may even immerse yourself. In fact, there are evidence-based therapies that indicate that if you go through systematic desensitization, if you go through immersion therapy, dialectical behavior therapy, cognitive behavior therapy, if you go through any manner of constant exposure to that which creates an autonomic response on your behalf, then that response will diminish and you will no longer be a prisoner to that.
But she wants you to remain a prisoner. See, Dr. Phil, that's your problem. Boomer, you don't get it. Gen Z wants to be victims. They want to be victims. You're taking away their victimhood. What's wrong with you? He doesn't get it. Boomers don't get it. Ryan, thank you for the $5, says, I didn't know that what I have needed my whole life is Gen Z looking out for me by providing trigger warnings. See? That's the glory of this show, Ryan. You now know what you need. What you needed, you were saying to yourself, my life feels kind of unfulfilled. I'm having problems. I'm not happy. What am I going to do? I got you. Now you can have Gen Z. You can have young Gen Z women who weren't even born in 1985, who probably, when they were born, 9/11 just happened. Like that, like those people, right? They can tell you that you need a trigger warning and life will be great again. You're wondering, some of you are saying, all right, Larry, how can I be happy? It's probably was just 1 or 2 more trigger warnings. Then, and only then, will you finally be happy. You're welcome, Ryan. You're welcome. Lunatic 489, I'm training my children to my living detriment, but post-mortem admiration to be absolute humans as best I can. Trained versus untrained. I like that, trained versus untrained. That is a good one. Yes, I agree. I know the reference. I like that. That's a good reference. I agree. Yes. I try the same thing. It's challenging, though. When mom doesn't agree, that could be challenging. And I have 2 girls who are Gen Z both. It's challenging. Not impossible. Not impossible. And I'm doing my best, but it can be challenging. So I'm with you. I agree with you. I'm just saying for a lot of parents, it's a whole lot of work. That's what I see. So yes. All right.
And when we have this list of content that gets so broad that literature itself becomes triggering, then that person becomes so siloed in life that they simply can't function because you're not going to get those warnings when you go into the real world.
And that is literally what's happening in Gen Z everywhere. Some millennials too, but all throughout Gen Z, where the men are just checking out. They can't handle that to check out. The women don't want jobs anymore. They don't want to work. Women don't want to work anymore. Men already checked out. They don't want to because everything is a challenge. Everything is hard. They don't know how to deal with challenges. They don't know how. Why? They were never trained. This is literally to Lunatic's point. They were never trained. So untrained versus trained. How do you survive and do this when you're not trained? They don't want to. They run away. They run away, right? And I'll bring this up to the idea of the Marines, as I often do. There are 2 units that have very high casualty rates. The French Foreign Legion and U.S. Marine Corps, 2 highest casualty rates in the world. Why? Because they stand and fight. Now, to be fair, the French Foreign Legion has no French people in it. It's the French Foreign Legion. So there's no Frenchies in it. They stand and fight. And so do Marines. So we have high casualty rates because we stand and fight. When you're trained, you stand and fight. When you're not trained, you run away.
Got to take a break. Coming up, professors from prestigious universities on both sides of the trigger.
See, Lunatic, you thought I was only going to punish you with her. Nuh-uh. I got professors now to punish you because there's one of these professors who also says she's right. Trigger warnings are the right answer. What's wrong with you guys? Of course. And of course, they're Ivy Leaguers. Of course they are. Yeah, Lunatic, you thought you were getting away with it. I got more for you.
Warning debate will join us next.
I got more.
Despite some...
All right, I do not need to hear his commercials. I do appreciate the commercials, but I don't need to hear it. I get that he has them. I'm jealous. I want some.
PHIL to 50505
Don't do that.
today.
Don't do that.
I went to open my textbook. There was an image of a young Chinese man with a rope around his neck,
What?
hung, dead.
What?
Just
What? She saw in a book a picture of a young Chinese man with a rope around his neck, and he was dead. I can't believe she's still here, not in a mental institution right now. Why is this woman not in a mental institution right now? I don't get it. I don't get it. How could you ever see that?
laying there. There was no warning from the professor that that imagery would be used. Not
See, if she, what you guys don't get, if there just would have been a warning that that imagery would have been used, then she would have been fine. Then it would have been okay. Because there wasn't, she is now scarred for life. I want you to think about something. She is dead serious when she's like, I'm scarred. I saw a picture of an Asian guy who was killed. Oh, I'm scarred. What happens when war happens? What happens when your child is ill? What happens when there's a car accident and someone you love now is bleeding? What are you going to do then? Nothing. You're going to watch them die because you're a broken human being, because your parents were terrible parents and wrecked you, because your society has wrecked you, because your generation has wrecked you. When I said that this generation is weak, Exhibit A. This is Exhibit A right here. This is triggering her. She's broken. She's destroyed. A picture, not even an actual person, a picture. Yeah. Why would I hire her? I would never hire her. Never. I would never hire her. Why? She's a disaster. She's a walking disaster. She's a walking lawsuit. They all are. Why would I? The amount of people now, and I went through this. I'm going to do another show on this coming up here. I am. On hiring and firing people and how people are saying it's unfair in the hiring market. You know, the hiring market is made to not hire Gen Z. To legally not hire Gen Z. All the tactics being used are to legally not hire Gen Z because they're all walking lawsuits. In our attempt to make everything perfect, we've made it to where, to Straight End's point, employers can't wait to get robots. Cannot wait to get robots. Just can't wait because they don't want her. I get it. I don't want her either.
Not only is it a photo of murder and a photo of death, it's also a racially charged murder and death.
Which makes it worse. It's just murder and death. Yeah, whatever. Oh, it's racial. Why is it racial? Was it racial for him? I'm assuming it's him. He's a man, right? So yeah. Was it racial for him? It wasn't. Why is it racial for you? Because you're not the same race. So that makes it worse. That's the problem.
And I think that could absolutely be triggering for people with PTSD in certain areas.
See, for other people. Because she cares. This is what you're not getting. You guys aren't getting this. She's better than you. Okay? Just accept that as true. And she's proving it. It could be for these other people who have these random people I've decided that I have to save because I can't stand my own life and I have no own purpose. So I'm going to now say that these random people I've made up in my mind I'm saving because I'm a good person, aren't I? Please tell me I'm good. Please tell me I'm good.
For sure.
For sure.
No, not for sure.
Not for sure.
Not for sure. Is it pleasant? Of course it's not pleasant. Would anybody like to dwell on that or look at it? No. Is it part of life? Yes, it is part of life. And that.
Let me walk down that piece of it. Good. Gene says, there's a part of the brain that enables us to do scary things. When we do the scary thing, that part of the brain gets stronger. True. If we don't do the scary thing, that part gets weaker. True. Gene knows. Yes. And I'm not saying, to be forward, that you need to or must. You don't. You don't need to. You don't have to. It's not required. But I also can't stop you. And I shouldn't stop you. Mike said, Mike is in the house. He says, of course. He says, how the hell can Mother's Day be triggering? Or responsibility of anyone? Your thing's not an obligation. True. Look, Mike, not must I, should I care about other people's feelings? I should. It's a nice thing. I should. I'm not required to. Neither are you. Should I? Yeah. Should you all? Yes, you all should. It's nice if you care about people's feelings. You should do so. Not required. You don't have to. No law. I'm sorry. Yes, there is, because you get sued and lose $500,000. So you do have to care about someone's feelings. It shouldn't be an obligation, but sadly, Mike, it is. That's the worst part. That's why I knew that if you're here when it happened, you had to have your bucket. I didn't want you to throw up on the floor. So yes, that's the hard part. Yes. Mastermind says, when the wife lost the twins, we didn't celebrate Mother's Day for a couple of years, but life goes on. Brother, I'm so sorry to hear that. That is a terrible situation, but you get it. You suffer. Your family probably suffers. People who know you and love you probably suffered along with you. You obviously and your wife the worst. But that's what you suffer. And you hopefully get stronger and you hopefully become closer. We hope sometimes these things don't, because they're open and the trauma never goes away, to Ludwig's point. That can be an open wound where you don't get stronger, but hopefully you do. Hopefully you move on. I am very lucky in that I almost lost my youngest, but I didn't. But I remember how we felt. Like the world was ending. We thought the world was ending. And you know what? The most honest thing is we realized, so I'm sure what you realized too, even when horrible stuff happens to you, the world keeps moving. And for some people, when that first happens to them, it can be really unnerving. It can really break people because they're like, I'm having trauma. I'm having problems. My world is ending. And people are living their lives. I shared this often back in 2010, 15 years ago. My life was in a disaster place. I was contemplating suicide. And you know what's happening outside of my window? People were going about their lives. The world was still moving. I didn't like that. I wanted everybody to feel my pain. I wanted everybody to feel sorry for me. And I wanted all those things. I was in a very terrible spot. I was in a very dark place. And I wanted the whole world to be right with me. And the world was like, sorry, Larry, we got shit to do. And that's hard. That's hard to accept. When my world's collapsing, why aren't you with me? Why aren't you also feeling it? Now how it works. The world keeps going. And we have to keep going too. We have to. And here's the most important part. Because other people still depend upon us. And Mastermind, you know this. They still depend on you. Right? You have to keep going. Absolutely true. So anyway, I went a little bit off on that one. Yes. Shelly says, I used to be a first responder. My daughter is now studying to be one. And I'm calm, cool, and collected. And later I go somewhere alone and debrief myself, if that makes sense. Yes. And they talk about that, right? When my daughter's going to the class, they talk about you always keep yourself squared away. If you need to, they have trauma therapists that you can go to afterwards, right? Because you can see, as you know, Shelly, you can see some terrible stuff being a first responder, like horrible stuff. And when you're done, it can mess you up. But you deal with it then, you fix the problem to the best of your ability, you handle it, and then later you go, I got to walk through this because I just went through some stuff here. I got to walk through this. So yeah, absolutely. Big deal. Jingles when I say, my dad left our family when I was 4. In school, when the other kids made things for their dads, I missed it with my big brother. He was 9 years older than I, and he was a father figure for me. I miss him terribly, but I'm so glad I had a brother like him. I get that. I had it worse. When my father died, I had no one. I had no male role models in my life at all. One of the reasons why I joined the Marine Corps. And by the way, in 1985, I was joining the Marine Corps. So yes, it's one of the reasons why I joined the Marine Corps. I had no positive male role models. Father's Day was another day for me. There was nothing there. Nothing. I didn't care about Father's Day until I became a father. Yeah, I get it. And the world kept going. Yes, world kept going. Mike says, these kids will not survive life. Well, if our society is built to coddle them, they'll survive. Coddled. And you know what else they'll survive? Get the bucket out, Mike. UBI. Because someone's got to pay for them. They can't handle stuff. So the government will just write them checks. And the robots will do the work. Robots do the work, and the government writes checks. Yep, I can see it happening. I'm hoping it's not going to happen. I am hoping it's not going to happen. But I can see it. I think you can see it too. That's why you don't like this, Mike, because I think you see it too. You know this could be the future. I don't want it either. I'm with you. Me and you, we're the same page here. I do not want that to happen. But I think you and I know it might. Multiple nations will take their favorite section as these generations will be incapable of being acted anything but a slave. Yeah, but then we'll have like killer robot soldiers or something. I don't know. I am concerned. I am.
That's the point. That was a student from Cornell University in favor of trigger warnings. She says the older generation just doesn't get it.
See that? You don't get it, Mike. That's your problem. You're too damn old. You don't get it. See?
So we're going to add some older folks besides me to the debate. Todd, a professor at George Mason University, and Connor, a professor at the University of Chicago, have opposite views on how to handle difficult content in the classroom.
Okay.
We don't need trigger warnings in the classroom.
We ought to have trigger warnings for really any topic that might be depicting human suffering.
See that? Mr. Blue Glasses says we should have trigger warnings for any topic. It doesn't matter. It could cause some bad stuff. See, lunatic? Dr. Blue Glasses says you're wrong. Take that.
The results of having trigger warnings in the classrooms are students are becoming more fragile, have greater difficulty managing their emotions, and they're less skilled at navigating conflict.
This generation of...
I am so surprised he would say that. No way. No way. So obvious. But Professor Blue Glasses, tell me.
College students are anything but snowflakes. They are resilient.
Trigger warning.
Did this dude just... They're anything but snowflakes. They're the definition of snowflakes. Wow. Okay, Mr. Blue Glasses, you go with your bad self.
Things don't prepare students for some of the inevitable things. In the real world, you want people to be prepared to deal with difficulties effectively.
Trigger warnings do not shelter people from difficult ideas. It empowers people through having a conversation about how...
See, it's empowering you, Pete. Why don't you get this? See, trigger warnings empower people. Morgan, get with the program, Morgan. Okay? God.
How the best way to wrestle with those ideas so they can actually make a difference.
There is a problem with trigger warnings impeding free speech. Okay. Teachers and students are less likely to bring up difficult topics.
The idea that trigger warnings stifle speech is exactly wrong. A warning doesn't necessitate anything else other than inviting people to have a conversation.
If that's the case, why have the warning? If that's the case, why have the warning? This guy is completely wrong, but why is he saying it? He's saying it because he wants the virtue signal. Not just that's the second piece. There is an ideology, as we know what that ideology is, that is behind this. And remember, in that ideology, the fringe of that side, you know, you must be on board with everything or you are a heretic and you must be destroyed. So if he doesn't say this, he's a heretic and he must be destroyed, right? That's the issue. He works for a college that he would be a heretic and be destroyed. So he's going to say, trigger warnings, let me go buy myself another new pair of blue glasses, and I'm going to go ahead and make sure that I got all my trigger warnings out. I'm trigger warning everything.
By inviting students to reach out to you to figure out how best to approach a topic, you're encouraging speech.
You don't need...
See, this is the other problems you guys got. See, Michael, this is your other problem. You think that you know how to deal with a problem. You don't. You think you know how to talk about a subject. You don't. You have to go ask Professor Blue Glasses. He will then tell you how you should think. He will tell you how to think. You sitting there thinking you got your own free will. No, Peace Logic will tell you you don't have your own free will. So Peace is right. Peace agrees with Blue Glasses guy. Go to him and he will tell you how to think. And then you don't have a problem anymore. Guys.
Trigger warnings as an intervention to improve students' lives, they're a good short-term solution. You avoid, you hide, and you feel better. The problem is, by itself, it impedes your ability to handle this current stressor and future stressors.
Yes.
Thanks for joining us. Todd, let me ask you first. Where do you come down on this?
Well, I'm glad you guys are talking about the behavioral evidence, which I think is important.
By the way, this guy's very savvy. Like if this was like Mike Voss would have jumped across the screen and like choked the guy out. This guy's not going to at all. He's very good. Mike, I'm teasing you, yes, because you know you'd be yelling and screaming right now. This guy is not going to yell and scream at all. He's going to be regular. If it's lunatic would have brought a weapon with him and would have probably ended half these guys and probably half of the audience. So I'm glad lunatic didn't go on the show. This guy was the right choice to pick. He's calm and cool. He's good. He's Shelley, like what Shelley would have done. Calm and cool.
important. And the research is really clear. Trigger warnings don't really affect your emotions for whatever's going to come next. It affects that anticipatory anxiety. But there's a missing piece that hasn't been discussed. When you get this anticipatory anxiety before you read a book, watch a play, watch a movie, you're so hyper-focused on your own symptoms and your own distress. That you get to this problem, which is this. Our goal as educators or artists or anyone that's trying to deliver content is to build a sense of agency in people, build people's ability to tolerate distress so they can pursue the goals that are meaningful to them despite whatever emotions arise. Well,
now that in theory is true, but then here, okay, Mr. Smart Guy, Mr. Smart Guy, what do you think about this? Then how am I though gonna feel better about myself, and how am I gonna show the world that I'm better than them? Did you ask yourself that question, Mr. Smarty Pants? You didn't, did you? Didn't ask that question. You want to help people out, make them mobile. Okay, how am I going to show the world that I'm better than them? How am I going to virtue signal? I bet Mr. Blue Glasses, he got the answer for that one. He does.
What we don't want is a bunch of people that stop what they're doing because they're afraid to feel anxiety, they're afraid to get angry, they're afraid to be embarrassed, and so they don't take risks.
Yeah, I'm glad you brought that up, because whether it's the reaction to the warning of what's coming up or a reaction to the content when it comes up, and you have an uncomfortable reaction, why is that necessarily a bad thing? Let's discuss preparedness.
Okay, now he's going to start doing a commercial. Let me get past that one. He got more codes you got to do real fast.
PHIL.
I'm jelly.
I'm glad you brought that up, because whether...
Let me grab a couple, since he went down, let me grab a couple if I can. Lunatic says, I spent too much time me reading while locked up. There's no such thing as too much time reading, my friend. As long as you're reading the right stuff, no such thing. Yes. Peace. We can remember for 4 months. Thank you, my friend. It's interesting that movies, spicy content. Remember, I am on YouTube and I treat me like a child. Spicy content and games are significantly more graphic than my childhood. Aren't most people numb to media violence? Correct. Do you think these girls? I shouldn't say girls because they're young women. They're all over 18. So these young women in college who are saying, "Oh, this Chinese guy," you think she hasn't seen worse? To your exact point, she hasn't seen it in spicy content, in movies, stuff she's done with the cool guys on her campus that she's done, maybe with other people combined, whatever. All those things she's done, please. This is virtue signaling piece. You are exactly correct. It's exactly correct. Yes. Phil says you can't shock an old nurse. Fix stuff. Move on. You can't shock an. Oh, got it. Okay, give me a second. Yeah. Okay. Yes. Yes. Fix that. Move on. I agree. Yes. Lunatic says I'm transferring my children's lives to Gaza/Yemen. I'm transforming my children. Don't do. Okay, that's too far. No. Lunatic, don't do. That's too far. No. You can, dude. You can find a middle ground. Did I trigger you too much? I'm sorry. I threw too many guys who are going to tell you that you're wrong. I triggered Lunatic. He's going all out. Okay, no, I'm sorry. Mr. Blue Glasses is wrong. Okay, I'm teasing. Don't do it. I went too far. I pushed Lunatic over the edge. Peace, thank you for the 199. You know what we need, Larry? More laws. That would solve all. More mandates. That woman there, she wants a mandate. We have to mandate trigger warnings. If we would just do that, everything would be great. Everything would be wonderful. See? Ryan already figured out. He didn't know what he wanted. He didn't know what he needed. Now he knows. More mandated trigger warnings. Done and done. Problem solved. You guys thought you had problems. You don't. We'll get more trigger warnings. And then life will be great. Love it.
It's the reaction to the warning of what's coming up or a reaction to the content when it comes up, and you have an uncomfortable reaction. Why is that necessarily a bad thing?
I agree. Why?
Sometimes it's exactly what you want. So if you were talking about Romeo and Juliet before, the goal isn't to feel good and tranquil and excited.
Not at all.
The goal is you're going through the arc of a very complicated emotional love story where the world isn't on their sides.
Yes.
And so what the artist, Shakespeare, and everyone who's interpreting Shakespeare is trying to do is get you to develop your emotional intelligence, improve your perspective taking through artistry.
I think you observe.
And the girl there, she's mad. She's like, why won't you conform? Conform. Do as we say. She won't do it. John over on Instagram says, trigger warnings I thought was not to infringe on free speech, but it gives the potentially triggered person to remove themselves so that they get triggered. In theory, John, it's supposed to be that. It's supposed to be a trigger warning so you can remove yourself. It's true. But people don't do that. That's not what they do. What winds up happening is a trigger warning, all it does is two things. One, it makes the person now feel like they should be upset by what you saw, by what they saw. Well, they may not have been. Now they're told you should be upset by this. Why? Because I just told you so. And when you get a trigger warning and then you're still upset, you now can sue. But trigger warnings help to stop you from being sued. That's what actually they help. Because now you can say, well, I warned the person so they can leave. But they don't leave. Because trigger warnings don't do anything. They just make someone feel worse. And now I'm wasting my time putting a trigger warning on everything. Here's the next piece. What shouldn't I put on? According to Professor Blue Glasses, everything. He said it on everything. So, John, here's the problem. So I put it on to the other woman's issue. Whenever I have an Asian man with a rope around his neck, then I have to put a trigger warning because she said so. That triggered her. Okay, what if it's a black man? What if it's a white man? Well, it's not racially charged because she's white. Is that different? What if it's not a rope? What if he's eating cake? What if he's an Asian man eating cake? Do I got to put trigger warning for that one? What if she doesn't like cake? What if it is a Bangladeshi guy who doesn't have a father? Does that do it? What if he's Japanese and he's two moms? Does that do it? I don't know. I got to put on everything now. What if it's not a guy? What if it's a Brazilian woman who hates cats? Then what? Do I got to put it on for that one? Well, John, according to Professor Blue Glasses, yes, on everything. Yes. Because what if you were in Brazil and you got mugged and hit over the head with a guy with a cat? You might be triggered. How would I know that? Does that happen? Maybe. I'm going to say it happens. The dreaded cat burglar.
Of yourself, deal with it. Therefore, make an attribution to yourself that, hey, I saw that. It wasn't pleasant.
Look at her face.
I dealt with that, and I can attribute to myself the ability to deal with that and get past it. What's your thought?
When there's sort of passive disclaimers you put on top of a syllabus, you put before something on a YouTube video or whatever, you sort of wash your hands to absolve yourself of liability, using them to...
He said it. Okay. Professor Blue Glasses said, I just want to absolve myself of responsibility. There we go. Okay. You know what? I'm in. He's turned me. I'm turned. Let's just put trigger warnings on everything. And trigger warning will be human people doing stuff. Trigger warning. This way I'm covered. Even with the Brazilian cat thing, I'm covered. Because that's a human person doing stuff. I don't need person doing it. That's kind of humans doing stuff. I don't need persons. Okay, so even shorter. Humans doing stuff. Trigger warning. I'm good. Doesn't matter. Is it a Japanese guy, Bangladeshi guy? It doesn't matter. Woman? Oh, good. You have dads, don't have dads. People. Humans doing stuff. That's my trigger warning. Done and done. All right. Professor Blue Glasses, I'm in.
Luminously is like saying, if you can drink 60 gallons of water and that will kill you, therefore we should just ban people from drinking water. What? Instead, if trigger warnings, when being an active opportunity to have a conversation with students, regardless of what the topic was, if they're not sure how to approach the topic, invite.
If they don't know how to approach the topic, Professor Blue Glasses will tell you how to think. Okay? You people think on your own. Who think you are?
Them to have a conversation with you, so that way you can help them work through it.
Look at his face. He's like, "What are you talking about?" Look at his face. What? Huh? Is this guy real?
The extent that it's in something, in fact, where they can't do it alone. Because we're teaching on colleges, 23% of college students are food insecure.
23% of college students are food insecure. You need trigger warning for that. I don't know how, but yeah, see? I'm much better I am than you. I'm the social justice warrior. I know the stats on food insecure, which means nothing, by the way, but that's fine.
25% of college-age women will experience sexual violence while in college.
25% will experience sexual violence. That's utterly not true. Not even close to true. That's an utter lie. I don't care what you say. That stat is a 100% lie. Utter lie. Not true at all. Total garbage.
College. 8% of college students will be homeless at least one day during a month.
8% will be homeless one day during a month. What does it even mean? So what he's actually saying is, everyone here listening needs to know that I am the wokest of the woke. Okay? Okay? Just get that. Mastermind now knows it. To be woke or not to be woke? That is the question. Whether 'tis nobler in the mind to suffer the slings and arrows of real piece of S, or to take arms against the DNAC of overflowing cesspools. Yes, Mastermind, you should. He's singing that right now. Like what you just said, he's saying right now. He gave you 3 stats to show. Did you know those stats? You didn't. You didn't know those stats. Why? He's better than you. Now, some of you are saying right now, Larry, how can I be better than this guy? Okay, first thing, go buy blue glasses. That's the first step. Do that, and we can start talking. Kim says, judges are just spreading the wealth. You're not wrong, Kim. They are in their own way. Because the judges also, they care. They care. Yes, absolutely. Mike says, my class in 8th grade did a deep dive into Romeo and Juliet. Teacher, classic trained actor, and 20 years old couldn't have survived. Seriously, let them fail so the survivors can reap rewards and maintain the U.S. I think that may happen anyway, Mike. Right? I talk to my kids, and Lunatic's going to get this when I say it for sure. There's an advantage of this for people like me and Lunatic. There's an advantage. And the advantage is our kids will be the tough kids, the ones who can survive and will lead. They're the ones that people will follow. That's the one advantage, because so many of the kids are lost. They're lost. That's one advantage. I think that is an advantage. So, yes. So, Liberty Lady says, I definitely am getting triggered with Pete's national debt comment. I'm telling you, Pete, he should have done that. See? Pete goes, we're in debt, no trigger warning. Pete, you messed up. Messed up. See? Should put your trigger warning there. Absolutely. Yes. All right.
And so inviting them to have that conversation can be an opportunity to connect them with resources on campus so they don't fall.
See, you can give them resources on campus. Why do you hate the poor? All right, Mike, why do you hate the poor? Why do you hate the homeless? Why do you hate them? See, that's who you are. Blue glasses, he's better than you.
All through the class. And in doing this for almost a decade, I've never once had to change anything that I've assigned.
I love the motivation behind this. To me, when I hear the evidence of you haven't had to change anything in 10 years because the conversations are present, tells me that maybe the conversations aren't happening.
Oh, Mr. Blue Glasses, how you like that? Maybe because you haven't had to change, maybe your shit's stagnant. How about that? How you like them apples, Mr. Blue Glasses? You don't like that, do you? Look at that face. You right, I'm wrong. That's him. He's mad. Peace Logic over on Rumble says, thank you for the $1. Can we please mix some toxic masculinity into this soup, Larry? Triggers are boring now. And more violence, please. My serotonin is running low. Well, when you need some toxic masculinity, Lunatic's always going to deliver. He's always here. He's the one talking about what he's talking about. Every time I read one of his, it's filled with it to the rim. So yes, he's already there. 100%. Yes. Yeah. Straight angles. He says it's only allowed on Rumble. So screw you. It's true. I can always say this about Rumble. Like YouTube, guys with blue glasses run YouTube. Guys like Lunatic run Rumble. That's how that works. So yeah, that's kind of how that works. So yeah, let me keep going.
I would suggest an alternative. Set up in the beginning is, this is going to be the culture of our classroom, our workplace.
Well,
and you provide rules of engagement or how we're going to have productive conflict, such that a student can talk to you about, you know what, I don't like the way you're talking about food insecurity. I feel as if your experience, your privilege is getting in the way from you understanding what my experience is.
Wow. Now, you can tell he's a teacher, because this is the thing that's great. He clearly thinks this guy's a knucklehead, but he spoke to him in a way with his own language. He used his own language. I think the way you're doing it makes your privilege not understand my lived experience. He can't mess with that. He used his own language against him. To be forward, I'm going to teach you for a minute, Mike. You can learn something from that. You could use their language against them. I'm actually not bad at it. He's better than I am. Like, this guy is better than I am. I'm pretty good at using that language. I'm okay. Like, they get it, like a little bit. This guy, he's like one of them. That's a skill set right there.
It's about not having ad hominems, which is we're going to focus on the ideas, not the person. the idea that the only dangerous thing is the idea that there are dangerous questions you can ask, as long as it comes from a place of curiosity. And then you have the likability principle, which is when we have discussions with people, we tend to give a different standard for people that we like versus people that are on maybe the other political aisle for who we are.
You know, you hear that? People that we like versus the other political aisle. No one brought up politics. Why do you say that? I didn't bring up politics. No one there brought up politics. He did. Why? Because he knows that's what this is about. Mr. Blue Glasses is on a side that matters, and we know what side that is. He called him right out. And will he defend himself? No need, because he's correct. Yes, he is correct. Kim says, oh, please don't get me started on all the stroking egos of kids. I know, Kim, it's terrible. God, it's terrible. It's one of the things I like about what Bill Maher says. Bill Maher is right on that issue, right? I know a lot of people don't like Bill Maher, but you can still be right sometimes. And he was on this one. Bill Maher says the same thing. He's right on this. Shenny Graham says, my kid saw it happening with her friends and asked why I was so mean. My reply, because I love her. Their parents don't love them as much as I love her. She's very independent and successful now. Yes, I have told my daughter more than once. I said, it is very challenging being my daughter. She's like, well, yeah, you're right, Dad. Yes, it's challenging. I know it's challenging being Lunatic's daughter or son. I'm not sure. Lunatic, got kids? I don't know which ones you got. Anyway, I had 2 daughters. It's challenging being my daughter. It is. And to your point, Shannon Graham, I'm not ashamed of that. I'm happy about that. I'm proud of that. I wouldn't change a thing. I am with you. I would not change a thing. Yes. Phil, thank you for $2. He says, Blue Glasses has predator vibes. He comforts co-eds. I bet he does. He's like, hey, co-ed, how do you want to feel about this? Why don't you come after hours to my apartment and we can talk about how you should think about something? There we go. Yes. Lunatic says, our lineage, DNA, heritage will survive. Yes. I don't doubt you, brother. I don't doubt you at all. I do not doubt you at all. Yes. All righty. Let's see. Gene says, my eldest son hated to do hard things. I told him that if everything you do is easy, you're not learning anything. True. Yes. Yes. John says, Larry, this is where you need to rely on friends. My friends know that I cannot watch YouTube shorts where somebody takes an awful hard shot to the twig and berries, and they still send that to me. That's actually good. I like that. Yes, that's good. I like that one. That's very good. All righty. Let me see if I can grab a couple more of these. Emery says, Larry, you're a genius. Thank you. See that? Yes. Liberty says, yes, participation trophies made us soft. True. Absolutely true. Yes.
And then I have students discuss which principles are the hardest for you. They have conversations. They have conversations with me. And from that, any time that a conflict arises or doesn't arise, I can refer back to our culture is we're going to discuss all the things.
She hates it. Look at her face. She's like, why won't you conform? She hates it.
Are difficult in society because you come to college not to be people that look like you, not to be around people that think like you. You don't need to spend $50,000 a year unless you're going to be exposed to different ideas, different opinions. And so if we're not having...
Okay, that is theoretically true, right? But in practice, not at all. Not at all. Theoretically, he's correct. Like, that's what it should be. I agree with his theory. Your theory is on the money, my friend. Nicely done. Nice theory. Practice? No. You will conform. Remember what she said? Do you remember what she said? The young woman said when she did her mandate. She wanted a mandate. They had a mandate. That's conformist. Absolutely. Yes. Phil says, Larry is a wartime consigliere. True. I am. And I'm pretty good at it. True. I've been it for many business owners and companies falling apart. That's true. Absolutely. Gene says, I didn't know that you've been an English teacher. Can you tell me when different from became different than? Can you tell me when different from different than? I'm not sure what you mean by that. Actually, when you can use each of them? Good question. I haven't been an English teacher in about 30 years. So it's been a while. So I probably couldn't tell you that. I still remember a lot of English rules. Some of them I don't. So that one I don't remember. Wish I could. I wish I could. So yes. All righty. Let's see here. Ryan says, if you can sleep in a C-130 or a C-9, you can sleep with it. Yes. And I've slept in a C-130. Yes. Never a C-9, but C-130 I have. Those are planes. For those who don't know, Ryan knows. Those are planes. Phil says that's a good way to go with that. Well, you put earplugs in if you have them. You don't always have them, right? The problem with earplugs is you don't always want to use them. It depends on where you are, what you're doing. Sometimes you want to make sure your hearing is completely up and running, right? When you're in the field, some guys would actually put earplugs in the field, but the problem is you want to be able to hear everything. But of course, when there's explosions and firearms going off, yes, also tough. Yes. Anyway, all righty, let me keep going.
In conflict, we're not doing our job, and this class isn't working.
I'm entirely in favor of what you're suggesting. I think a vigorous debate in the classroom is essential for learning. So let me give you an example. I've taught lessons on homelessness policy. We've gone through ethnic.
He teaches homelessness policy. That's a class. That's a class. I'm going to college to learn something. What are you going to learn? Homelessness policy. And you please stop going to college. Just stop. You're learning that? Oh my God. Phil. Yeah, my New Yorkers know. He goes, oh no, Ithaca, I'm triggered. For those who don't know Ithaca, that's where Cornell is. It's in Ithaca, which is Tompkins County. Yes, I know my state very well. Yes, Ithaca is in Tompkins County, and that's where Cornell is. So he knows. He knows. He's a New Yorker. He knows too. Yes, I know we're all triggered. All those New Yorkers got triggered when we saw it. You're absolutely correct. Yes, all us New Yorkers got triggered. 100% true, Phil.
Graphic kind of boots on the ground studies. Say, here's what's coming up in our next class. If you're not sure how to approach it, like I would for any topic, right? Come talk to me after class, stop by office hours, send me an email. And so I had a student who says, this topic's hit me a little close to home. I said, okay. And so we came to my office, they tell me why. And so we're talking about it in terms, they're actually dealing with homelessness themselves. And
they're dealing with homelessness. See that? Do you understand how much better he is than you? You don't really get it. He's going to show you.
So because of that conversation, by inviting people to have a conversation, we're promoting speech, we're promoting the sharing of ideas and perspective. I was able to connect them with financial aid resources so that they got out of that circumstance. So
I was able to have the government give them money, which makes me better than you. Why can't you get that, Mr. Logic? Okay? God. I wish I was joking. I'm not. Mastermind says, I don't know, Larry. So it's kind of vindictive to me. You might be true. You might be right. I'm trying to give her the benefit of the doubt, right? I'm trying to. Minor Threat says, what an insult to older people with real PTSD, as if she knows better. Correct. That's the part. The smugness. The smugness is terrible. I completely agree. It is horrible. Andrea says, then why is mental health getting worse? It's weird, isn't it? It's weird. We're doing all this stuff, and somehow it's getting worse. Andrea, I don't get it. Probably Trump. It's Trump. Don't never forget the orange man is bad. Don't forget. You might have forgot that. Peace Logic over on Rumble says, homelessness policy, school for grifters. What'd you get your degree in? Grifting. Done. We're going to bring you right aboard my campaign. You got a degree in grifting? It's exactly what I was looking for. Perfect. That's the only place you can go. But yeah, why can't I get a job? Why get a job? What'd you study in college? Homelessness policy? What? Yeah, I'm gonna get a job. I got a job for you. What? Over here, barista. You don't understand. The homeless, blah, blah, blah. Dude, put the fries in the bag. Okay? Put the fries in the bag. I don't give you homeless stuff. Yes, absolutely. Mike says, this show is painful. I'd break the keyboard if I had one. Just bought one on the way back. Yes, I knew, Mike. I knew. I'm like, I told you get the bucket because I thought you might throw up. I knew you would love this one. I'm like, Mike will enjoy this one. There we go. Yes.
After I talked to them at the end of the term was their favorite. So something that otherwise they might have just tuned out of, they actually felt more encouraged. And by having that, I could build a one-on-one individual instruction with them. So they succeeded.
Yeah. Now, Claire, you proposed a resolution to require faculty to provide trigger warnings about traumatic content that can be presented in class.
Traumatic content. This is traumatic content. And she proposed a mandate. Traumatic content. Now, what would be traumatic content? What would that be? Let's see. All righty.
including but not limited to sexual assault, domestic violence, self-harm, suicide, child abuse, racial hate crimes, transphobic violence, homophobic harassment, xenophobia, and other things, right?
And other things. So this goes back. Trigger warnings on all those things, including xenophobia. Trigger warning on that. Okay. And other things. Basically, my trigger warning stands. Humans are doing stuff. Covered. See, I figured this out, guys. I have the plan. I am indeed the genius that the person said. I am indeed that genius. It's true. I am that genius. Trigger warning. People doing stuff. Can't sue me anymore. Not getting my $500,000. Done and done. Love how bright I am.
And what was the response?
We passed the resolution through the student assembly. It received a unanimous vote. It was sent to the administration, who then vetoed it.
Okay, hold on. You heard what she said? Unanimous vote. Everybody said yes. Then the other guy go, you come to college so you can get different views on different stuff, on different this, on different that, on different this, on different that. Unanimous vote to put trigger warnings on everything.
On the grounds of it being a mandate.
Okay, so administration said no.
On the grounds that because we asked for a mandate.
Say, on the grounds of this, otherwise they were right, because I'm correct. Say, I'm so much smaller than you all, Mr. Boomer. I'm smart. Look at our face. On the grounds of it being a mandate, otherwise we're totally correct. Of course we are.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. They said we can't accept the resolution as actions it recommends infringe on core commitment to academic freedom and freedom of inquiry.
Damn, Dr. Phil got receipts. He came up with receipts. She said, yeah. And he went, well, his receipt says, this says you full of shit. Yeah. I think you full of shit.
So if we dive a little bit deeper into that administrator's response, we'll actually
see if you just dive deeper, you just gotta dive deeper. You in the shallow end, Boomer. Come with me in the deep end, and then you'll see.
Find that it was because of the mandate policy mechanism.
It's the mandate policy mechanism. What you know about that, Ryan? You don't know nothing about that. You know nothing about that, Ryan. It's the mandate policy mechanism. You guys.
That would create a chilling effect. Although the authors of that response do acknowledge that there can be a form of courtesy and even compassion that can come from a trigger warning.
See, there can be courtesy and compassion, you guys. God, I'm tired of you people.
In the classroom, especially as it pertains to extreme topics like child abuse, sexual violence, domestic violence, etc.
Etc.
Okay. What do you want to say?
He just went, fine, whatever. He said, fine. You're awesome. Okay? Fine. You're better than me. Literally, Dr. Phil, who has a show with like people who are like, I don't know, going, how about that? Catch me outside, girl. Catch me outside, girl guy was like, fine, you're good. You're better than me, fine. She wore him out.
So Claire and Connor, both of them are capturing this beautifully.
See? He goes, they're capturing this beautifully. You could learn something from him, Mike. You could learn something from him. Just saying.
What I'm suggesting is, based on evidence, there's a better way of doing this. As a clinical psychologist, I spent 4 years treating sexual assault survivors, most under the age of 11. And so I've had survivors that are with me where this is their triggers: green carpet, light bulbs, furniture that's unadorned.
This bothers me so much. On a personal level, it just bothers me when I hear this guy say this. He dealt with survivors of SA. Many were under the age of 11. And their trigger are green carpets. What kind of pictures that put in your mind? It's horrible. Now, why am I glad that he said it? As horrible as that was, is because he did I have credentials, kids under, they can't touch him now. Because he used credentialing, which they love, against them. They can't come back from that. Brilliant.
And so if you take all of the hundreds of thousands of people that are sexual assault survivors and made that the list in terms of what triggers are, it would just be biblical in terms of size. And so as opposed to trying to get at everything that can bother someone, miscarriages, abortion, race-related conversations that happen there, what I would suggest is you create a classroom that starts with a combination of compassion, personal agency, and I'm going to treat you as if you are not fragile and you can handle difficult conversations. And if you need emotion regulation training, that will be the undercurrent of whatever subject we're talking about.
And the point I want to bring up here is what you always hear me say. Trigger warnings, DEI, all this stuff. I honestly believe that the origins of these things were not bad. The origins, the concepts, the intents were probably all good. The reality of it is you need one thing: good emotional intelligence. You need an environment of empathy. That's what you need, an environment of empathy. Have that openness. People can talk and say it. If you're saying stuff is triggering me, I should feel comfortable enough to say it, to bring it up, to talk about it. I joke a lot here, obviously. I try to make things funny and interesting. Of course I do. By the way, we're done with that. That's the end of it. But I hope that most of you know that I'm not sitting here judging you guys. I share myself with you all the time. I hope you feel you can share yourself with me too. And others in the chat often does it back and forth. We have all types of back and forth here, which is good. There is, I try at least, to have an environment of empathy, even though we will disagree on things, have different issues that will trigger us, make us upset and angry. So that's what matters. And he's right. Anyway, I brought that up because I thought it was an interesting piece. Matt, if you don't like it, it's Matt's fault. He sent it to me. So that's why we're doing it. So yes. Peace. Thank you for the $1. He says, I don't like her. Not one bit. Not even less than a bit. No. Can we send her to a re-education class? Oh, she wants them. She wants them. Peace. She's all about it. Absolutely. She wants to make sure she makes them. She totally wants them. Absolutely. So yes. All right. Let me grab some more of this if I can. Lunatic says, I've been calm all show. The more stressed, zero reaction. Thank you. Mike Voss will never do 4 hours with me. Challenge? Oh, okay. When it comes to time, you don't want to challenge Mike. The man will do 12 hours. The man will do 12 hours. I'm not making that up. He will do 12 hours. Don't challenge him. Don't get him started. Mike, I hope Mike's off. Walk the dog, Mike. Because Mike will come back like, 4 hours, chump. I'll do 8. No. Don't listen to him. Don't listen to him, Mike. Don't take the bait. Sarah says, gifted a membership. Thank you so much. Guys, remember, you can grab a membership if you want to. Remember the rules of membership. If you make $2 million or more per month, you may not take a free membership. If you make less than $2 million a month, yes, you may take a membership. Please feel free. Thank you so much, Sarah, for the membership. Grab one if you can. It does matter. So yes, please do so if you can. I appreciate it. So, all righty. Let's see if I can grab this real quick. So many of these. I do appreciate all the things we're talking about. So Phil says, women don't want to work. I see this as an absolute win. Back in the kitchen. That's not what I mean, but yes, it's not what I mean, but yeah, people don't want to work in general. Men have already checked out. So women only want to stop working. So when they don't want to work, nobody wants to work. So yes. Mike says, declaring victimhood does not resolve the underlying issue. True. Absolutely true. This is why these kids fail and require government micromanaging of life. Not just require, Mike, and this is the part that bothers me. If someone is actually harmed in a way to where they cannot function on their own, where they need to be a ward of the state, something like that, I get it. That person requires government micromanaging because they physically don't have family. Maybe they have a mental issue that is so devastating they can't function on their own. Okay. These guys don't require it. They want it. That's way worse. Way worse. They want it. They're happy to have it. Yes. Minor Threat says, my brother who is white wrote an admissions on MLK, and my Gen Z niece shook her head when I told her as if he shouldn't be able to write about him. Yeah. Now we don't want white people like an MLK. Yeah, absolutely. Matt says, I find that with the young people at my work. They call in all the time and don't show up. And I'm like, you'll never make it at a real job. We're supposed to show up 5 days a week. Yeah, I see it too all the time. It's a common thing. It's a common thing. Yes. Mike says this is cruel, Larry. Yes. Because I love you, brother. That's the reason why. I knew you'd enjoy it. Yes, 100%. I knew you would. All right. Andrea says history is not pretty. True. Right? Why would we think it is? And the problem is I don't want to whitewash history. I want it to be nasty and mean with all the bad stuff, Andrea. I want people to, so that we cannot do it again. So we cannot do it again. It's exactly right. Yes. Phil says, have you ever seen a deer hanging with its guts on the ground and its chest cavity open? I have. It'll make you vegan for a week. Then you try the venison. Yeah, it is kind of good. It's kind of good. Yes. You're not wrong. Yes. Liberty Death says, Larry, you wouldn't hire her because you're a sexist boomer. Sexist Gen Xer. The rest is correct. Yeah. Matt says, I've split my forearm open during electrical work at my house. Thank God for my horror movie training. And I had a clarity of mind to immediately seek out something to make a tourniquet. Yes. Yes. Absolutely. 100%. Absolutely. Absolutely. Guys, before we go any further, I'm going to ask you again, please click the button known as like. I know I bug you all the time. Please do it. If you haven't clicked it, it's because you're triggered. So I'm sorry. Trigger warning. I'm going to ask you to do stuff. Click the button known as Lima, India, Kilo, Echo. Click that button. If you haven't already, please do so. It does matter. Every bit does count because this is how I get past my horrible shadow banning, which I've had for so damn long. I'm trying to get past it. It is very frustrating for me that I do so much of this and so much work, and the tube of you just doesn't give a shit. It really bothers me. So I'm trying to get past it so I don't get triggered. So help me not be triggered by sharing this or reposting this someplace so I don't get triggered. Absolutely. If you can follow me on Sharpeway, Facebook, X, and Rumble, please do so. Follow me on Rumble if you can. I'm trying to get to 500 if I can. I'm about 425 in that area. If you can pop me up to 500, that'd be great because maybe I can move over to Rumble completely, and maybe they might actually care and give me some actual good action over there. It'd be nice if I could. If you have not subscribed to YouTube, Sharpeway, please do so. I appreciate all the rants, all of the super chats. I appreciate them all. Let me grab some more of these comments if I could. So many of them. I do appreciate it. All righty. Michael says, I care about people's feelings, but I'm not a past trauma mind reader. Right, Michael, and that's my point, right? As I always say, you want to be empathetic. You don't have to be magical. And you're not required to Mike's point. You're not required to, but you should. And I think most people want to be. Some don't, but I think most want to be. And I think that's good. Be empathetic and be open to people. I think so. Yes. I think that's true. Yes. All righty. If I can grab some more. Oh, this one's directly to me. Mike says, Larry, victimhood is a symptom of entitlement, which requires government enforcement. We learn with age and experience that the universe does not revolve around us and become better society as a result. I'm gonna twist it a little bit. It's not necessarily government enforcement. It is societal or culture enforcement. All of us are raised in with the same government rules, but the people around us will very often decide how we grow, what we think. I do think it's much more of a cultural issue that we're in, right? I think that's much more of an issue. Yes. Kim says, old people have not had trauma. I know. I know. Isn't that so dumb? But the funny part is, Kim, she believes that. She believes the people who fought the Vietnam War, trauma. What you know about trauma? Nothing. You fought World War II? Trauma. You know something. Yeah, nothing. Right? Iraq War vets, Afghanistan vet, nothing. Now, people survived the 2008. People survived 2001, 9/11. Not what you know about trauma. I had to go to college and see a Chinese guy with a rope around his neck. What do you know about that, Kim? Did you see a Chinese guy with a rope around his neck like I did with no trigger warning? Huh. Yeah. That's literally her. Yes. That's literally her. Yes. Joel says, saying trigger warning is like saying no offense before you offend someone. True. On the money. On the money. That is 100% accurate, Joel. I love that. Yeah. Yeah. With all due respect. And then I call and then I insult his mother. That's how that works, right? With all due respect. And then I insult his mother. That's how that works. Yes. P says, hold on now, Larry. Conflating blue glasses with free will and me, I object. That was the point. That was just for you, Peace. That was literally just for you. Yes, absolutely. That was specifically made. I'm glad you enjoyed that piece. I enjoyed saying it. Yes, I enjoyed saying it. Mike says, I'm the definition of appropriate calm. I know I'm just teasing you because I can. I love this episode for you, Mike. I do, because it's like so opposite. I just thought you'd enjoy it. So yeah, I love that so much. Mike goes on to say, when a crackhead pulls a gun on you, there's no trigger warning. Yep. Cool in a nation, little or no warning. Drunk bar fight. Elitist feelings only apply in controlled environments. These are weak people. Accurate. The funny thing is, he uses the phrase, which I love, privileged. I use it too. Right? Calling people who use the word privileged drives them crazy. The reality of it is, the people who talk this way, they're all privileged. They're all going to Cornell. Right? So yeah, all good. They're all going to Cornell. Yes. Phil says, I forgot to press the like button. Triggered. Thank you. Yes. Triggered. There we go. Shan says, the problem with not hiring Gen Z is the only thing they'll be able to get into is politics. Actually, here's the big, you're right in the money with that, Shan. The only place they can go is government. I'm not joking. Only place they can go is government. Government will hire them. They're going to fill the government. You're right. There's nothing else, another place they can go except that. Yes. There's no place to go. Liberty Death says, trigger warning, sirens on Larry's block. Yes, I live in the city. There will be sirens. There will be sirens. That should be a movie. There will be sirens. There will be blood. There will be sirens. Yes, absolutely. So Andrew says, what does what have to do with it? He's just saying stuff because he's smarter than you. Just accept he's smarter than you, Andrew, okay? He's got blue glasses. Got it. Mastermind Hour says, Gen X is going to end up being the babysitter generation. Absolutely true. We kind of already are. We're already on that way. Yes, absolutely. Jay says, are movie ratings the same as trigger warning? Ooh, I like that. And that's not bad. I like that. It's not bad. Yeah. That's not bad. I like that. Maybe they are. Because they say, what's in it? It's trigger warning. See that? We already found a way. See, the government said if you trigger warning yourself, then we don't have the trigger warning for you. Done and done. Sarah says, in my K through 8, we sometimes had school assemblies with performers. My favorite was an interpretive performance of Langston Hughes' poem, Mother to Son. My life ain't been no crystal star. I got truth. Look at that. The point is, we're supposed to, as humans, respect people who've gone through hard times. Right? We're supposed to respect people who've gone through hard times and then get them to move on. Right? And then get them to move on. That's it. John says, Bill Maher tonight after this. I know 10 o'clock's Bill Maher. I'm going to eat something probably. I didn't eat today. I work so much I didn't eat today. So I'm going to eat today. Probably with my daughter. We'll eat something together. And then I'll watch Bill Maher tonight. Bill Maher's hard to watch though sometimes. Some of his stuff is just so bad. But he does. The reason why I watch Bill Maher, John, is not because I like him. Two reasons why. Because every once in a while, there is a libertarian streak in him that every once in a while just like comes out. It does. It does happen. It does sometimes. But not just that. Knowing what he's saying, talking about, does tell me what the mainstream is thinking, right? It does tell me that. So that part that's good. That's the reason to watch it. Yes. Mary B says, so many things necessary for survival are hard and dirty working jobs. Yes. Amazing how the ease of living has evolved. Innovative, knowledgeable minds mixed with caring love and rationality are priceless. True. I like that. It's beautiful. Yes. Morgan says, to be fair, homelessness is deeply affected by policy measures. True. But the guys that are teaching what he's teaching are not teaching anything of actual value. I talked about homeless Morgan the other day on how you can deal with homelessness. The policies he's talking about and that he's learning and teaching, making things worse. How do I know? He's in New York, pumping people into New York. New York has one of the worst homelessness problems in the country and the worst wealth gap. So you're right, and he's wrong with his policies, but you're correct. Absolutely true. Yes. Matt says, how the heck are you paying $50K a year for college and homeless? See, he didn't say they're homeless. What he said was they experience homelessness at least once a day. 8% experience homelessness one day a month. You know what that means? They got thrown out of their dorm for a day and have no place to stay. But he won't tell you that. He wants to sound like the world's ending. He says food insecure. Food insecure just says you are unsure where your next meal is coming the next day. That's it. That makes you food insecure. Does that mean you're starving? No. Does it mean you're hungry? No. That's what they made that word up. In America, people don't starve to death. It's not a thing. I mean, they do, but it's not a problem. Less than 20 people every year starve to death in America. It's starving to... We have a nutrition problem, not a hunger problem. That's fantasy. That is shit people made up. Utter garbage. There's not a starvation problem in America. It's not a thing. The people who die of starvation, sadly, die almost always purposefully. I know it sounds terrible, but that's true. You're asking that question, or you're bringing it up, so that's the truth. Old elderly people who we choose, or very sick people who we choose to not feed anymore, we pull a feeding tube and they starve to death. Horrible, but that's the reason. Also, young children who are being abused by their parents and are ignored, starve to death. And people who are addicts who use all their money only on the drug and refuse to eat, starve to death. And lastly, people who are literally anorexic, who have eating disorders and actually don't eat and starve to death. That's why people starve to death. Not because they don't have access to food. None of those are because they don't have access to food. None of those because of that. They're because literally we starve them or they starve themselves. That's how it happens in America. There's no such thing as this. We're all starving to death. Not a thing. We are undernourished. We have a nutrition problem. We do not have a food problem in America. It's not a thing. That's made up. There is literally zero evidence of that being true. Yes. Morgan says, how do we fix the homeless problem, homeless veteran issue if not through policies? We do, but not his. I have given you policies. If you pay attention, I explain how you fix it, right? You follow the examples that you already see that work. Texas, Argentina. They've already given us examples of how it works, and it has worked. The data is in. Texas has less of a wealth gap than we have. Texas has a minor health homeless problem than we have. Why? Because they're built. You can build there. They are landlord friendly. They're landlord friendly in Texas. That's why their homeless problem is not that bad. I mean, still the problem, nowhere near as bad. So yes, that's how you fix it. Just not his policies. So hope that answers. So, all righty. Peace over there says, oh my God, I have a great idea. Classic shoot 'em up video game, and you get to hunt trigger people and extra woke. Imagine characters named Wokey and Trixie. Pac-Man reimagined. You hunt trigger people and extra woke. Imagine characters named Wokey and Trixie. Pac-Man reimagined. All right. I'm not sure about that one. I got to figure that one out. We'll see. We'll see. Not sure. Maybe. Maybe. I got to figure that one out. All right. Shelly says he's never been homeless for an hour of his life. True. True. That's accurate. Yes. Absolutely. Yes. Morgan says there will be blood. That was the movie. I thought it was that. Yes. Absolutely. All righty. I think that was good too. Matt says Rumble doesn't want to send me a verification code so I can follow Larry. Rumble hating. They're scared of you because you're going to make them watch these videos again. They're scared of you. That's the reason. See? Don't send videos. I'm kidding. It's totally fine. It's totally fine. Guys, I'm so happy you give me a chunk of your day. I appreciate this tremendously. Please make sure that you are hitting that like button. Remember, if you want to become a member, members can submit videos, as we talked about. Yes, remember that. And remember, after the live, if you put a comment in this area after the live, Mr. Rhythm Algo loves it. Please do so if you would. And today I'm asking you, if you don't mind, what do you think about trigger warnings, just in general? Too many of them, not enough of them. Is there a place for them? Is there a place for trigger warnings? Please feel free. Do that if you want to. I want to know what you think about them. I will respond. We're thinking about trigger warnings. That's a great thing to talk about. And if you are watching this and it's not live, it's afterwards, you can see 2 videos pop up right here. Please click on one of them right now. I will see you all